Life Advancement and Business series, where we look at the instruction of Jesus Christ that we should go and occupy till he comes. And as you know, this occupation is not just based on occupying the church premises, but rather that we go out and take charge in our various professions and vocation, in business, in politics, in corporate governance, and in vocation, and of course, ministry. It is in the light of this that we present this opportunity for our team members and everyone following us right now to be able to acquire effective strategy that we lend wisdom to you to be able to create more impact in your chosen field of business. We are doing this through our program called Life Advancement and Business series. So we leverage the experience of people who have risen through their professional career and then in field of endeavor, and then sharing their story and nugget with us that will enable us and help us to gain progress in our own chosen field. Again, this afternoon, my name is Felix Oni, and I welcome you to this series. I'm sure Opeyemi Asagba will be joining us soon. But in the meantime, we are looking at the topic wisdom for entrepreneurs. Wisdom for entrepreneurs. And it's good to understand who is an entrepreneur. There have been several definitions, and it is not limited, but I would like to define an entrepreneur as someone that have been able to create a solution and is willing to take the risk to put investment behind it and then make it as a value for exchange. So someone who has been able to develop a solution, conceive a solution, and then is willing to take the risk of putting investment behind it and then begin to create value. In a few minutes, I will just look at what I think an entrepreneur should begin to do with. As an entrepreneur myself, I feel that the starting point for every entrepreneur is an unquenchable desire to create solution. An unquenchable desire to create solution. I call it unquenchable because it is not every first attempt does not work. And therefore, it should be unquenchable because if you fall many times, be ready to rise up again and then redefine your strategy and begin to run. In my over close to 30 years of working, and 15 out of it has been in direct entrepreneurship, where I run various kind of businesses. I will be sharing some practical solutions with us, which I believe should help us this afternoon. So please just follow me as we progress gradually. I started by saying that an entrepreneur is someone who's been able to develop a solution. Every man out there needs one solution or the other. The marketplace every day requires solution. It is never enough. There are more than enough problems to be solved. And therefore, as you bring in unique solution, then certainly there is your own space for you in the marketplace. And please note that one of the things that will help you to generate ideas, which we call solution, because your idea is what you brand, put together, structure for it to become a solution to someone. An idea that will become a solution must be able to balance this equation. When what ought to be and what is right now. I'll take that again. What ought to be and what is right now. So the balance between these two, when what ought to be is not equal to what is, then there is a problem. I take that again. When what ought to be is not equal to what is, then there is a problem. And that problem that is identified needs a solution. But where what ought to be is equal to what is, then there is no problem. And so you may not have opportunity there as much. I will give some examples in figure. You have with you 10,000 naira, but there is a problem of 15,000 naira to be solved. So what ought to be is 15,000 to be able to solve the problem. But what is available is 10,000. So between 10,000 and 15,000, there is a 5,000 naira. That is the problem. Providing solution to this 5,000 naira make you relevant to the man in between. So every entrepreneur every day must go out with the mind of what ought to be and what exactly is right now. And if you look around us, look around your neighborhood, look around your state, and even the country and the world at large, you will always see what ought to be. And most times, those are the things that generate our complaint against government, complaint against people around us. And then we look at what is. What is the reality of where we are. And then you are able to pick the gap in between. Then you find a problem. How do you come into this problem? How do you solve it? That is where we will be talking this afternoon on some practical thing. When you found a problem, when you locate a problem, which for you is an opportunity to create value. Because don't forget that money is defined as the exchange for value, or value. Exchange of value. Meaning money will not exchange for anything that does not have value. You need to take a value with you before you'll be able to exchange it for the value that that money carries. If you don't have a value with you, then since money is an exchange for value, then you are not entitled to receive that money in exchange. So what then do we do to be able to create value out of every problem that we cite? Number one, scripturally, we must realize that God from the beginning of creation, in Genesis chapter 2, verse 15, put man in the Garden of Eden and say, go and walk there and tend it and take care of it. So God set the pace, the template for work, meaning we must work for us to be able to continue to earn. So it's important that we know that. Number two, in 2 Thessalonians chapter 3, verse 10. 2 Thessalonians chapter 3, verse 10. Jesus, the Paul was telling the people how they ought to do, even in his absence. And he reminded them that we have taught you that whosoever does not work is not supposed to eat at all. ever fail to work. Not whoever want to work but could not get a job to be done, but whosoever failed to work, who refused to work, was not supposed to eat at all. So these scriptures puts a demand on us that we must work. As believers, don't go and sit on the mountain, don't go and spend the whole night praying and refusing to resume work the following morning to do something for yourself. So wisdom for entrepreneur, I will start by saying, when you want to start putting your ideas together, don't create complex ideas for yourself. As much as you can make your idea simple, it will be easy for you to execute. Because a lot of people want to start something and you want to start from the most complex point. The product probably you are seeing in the market that you want to compete with, that have gone through different evolution, and maybe probably it's about 20, 30 years in the market, and you want to start your own and start at that same level, you will put yourself in a very difficult position, and it may just end up as an idea because it will become too complex for you to unravel and begin to execute. So therefore, make your innovation as simple as possible. Then as time goes on, then you can begin to increase it and then create a complex structure around it. Then number two, remove every bottleneck. Don't create bottleneck for yourself. There are several things you want to do at the takeoff of a business that will create a lot of difficulty for you. It will choke you. For instance, you don't need to hire the number of staff that you cannot afford at that moment. You will choke yourself financially. Don't create a system that you cannot run easily with minimal resources and minimal people available. Then also you must remember that you must be very, very realistic with yourself when you are doing your strength, weakness, opportunity, and threat analysis. You must be very, very sincere, because you are not doing it for somebody, you are not doing it to pass an exam, you are doing it for a business that you are going to run. If you don't do it sincerely, and if you don't do it with simplicity, you may end up creating something that you cannot manage. And therefore, it's important for you to know that as simple as you can keep it, it will help you. So, in introducing this, develop a flexible attitude towards starting your business. Be very, very flexible. Don't be rigid on what you know, because the Bible tells us in Proverbs 27 verse 22 that there are some people that are so rigid that even when you put them in a mortar and you pound them, he said their foolishness will not depart from them. But even grain, when you put a grain of corn or a bunch of corn in a mortar, by the time you pound it, the grain is separated from the other thing. But he said a foolish man who is rigid, who is straight-jacketed, who says, what I know is what I know, that sometimes the foolishness of why they are failing, why things are not working, may not happen for them. So therefore, be flexible. Be flexible. When it is obvious that something cannot work, don't insist. Don't keep doing the same thing over and over again, and then until you trap yourself in a business that is not profitable, and yet you are putting money, you are wasting people's energy. I want to believe Okwe is back online now and hearing my takeoff speech. So just one more thing then before I allow him take charge right now is that you must understand who are your critical stakeholders. As an entrepreneur, you must understand who are your critical stakeholders. Who are the people putting money behind your idea? They are critical. They are critical. You must demonstrate enough integrity and transparency to them. Then, who are the people who are running this system with you? Your staff, your workforce. You must respect them. You must take care of them. They must be made to be part of the system. Don't let them see you and them different. Let them feel as if they are running the system with you. Then there is also your customer. They are critical stakeholders, the off-takers, the people who buy what you sell. Because no matter how good you think your product is, no matter how excellent you have done a research, until somebody is ready to put down money and collect that product from you, then the product has no value yet. So you must take care of your stakeholders, starting from people who are willing to put money. From the onset, you may not have one person willing to give you all the money, no matter how much he or she invested. Make sure that there is a feedback, make sure that you run transparently such that they know what you are doing and they have understanding of how the business is working. That will encourage someone else to invest. That will encourage someone else to also trust you enough to be able to invest in your idea. Then you must remove emotions completely when it comes to decision making in your business. You must detach your business from emotional decisions. That's why, as much as possible, avoid hiring somebody you cannot fire. You've heard this over and over again, but I'm telling you, as somebody who is in need, who has been in need for a while, that it can be very, very traumatic and it can cause you a lot of losses and pain if you don't deal with that decisively. Don't hire anybody because you feel, oh, it's related to me, by blood, is recommended by somebody, and by the time you look at it, it's not useful for your system. Don't hire such a person, because he will become a deadwood. It will become a big weight for you to carry. The time you are supposed to spend in strategy building, the time you are supposed to spend in building solution, you will discover that you spend that time looking after somebody who is here and there complaining and not willing or not ready to do his work. You must, as an entrepreneur, and you hear I said must, continually improve yourself. Don't remain where you start. Because the moment you start a product, you might be the pioneer of that product, but give yourself few months. Several other persons are coming in. They've taken your product, they're copying the idea, and they're going to come out with something better. So that leads me to this next point, that you must continually improve yourself and improve your product. You must continually improve yourself and improve your product. Why? Because the system where you are playing is a global system and there is daily improvement. If you don't understand that, look at your Android phone. Every now and then they send you an improvement of what they have done to an app, and you have to update for you to continue to enjoy that app. So if the world is moving very fast, everybody is upgrading, everybody is moving. If you want to remain static with your idea, ideas of 2 years ago would have expired by now. Few days ago, my children were watching a movie with me, and they saw somebody dancing break dance, Michael Jackson break dance of our, in those days. Those of you in my age bracket, and those were the kind of thrilling dance in those days. And they laughed and said, "Daddy, this dance is awkward. What is this?" I said, "It's because it has expired. It has outlived its time." But at a point, that dance was selling like mad. He was selling that people will watch him dance, and you hear people faint in the stadium just because they were thrilled. Because at that time it was relevant, but several years down the line, it has expired. You must know that if you don't improve your product, the people you are selling to, they are improving every day. Their taste is changing every day. Their lifestyle changing every day. Even the things that will work in compatibility with your product, they are changing every day. You remain static, your product will expire, and you'll be thrown out of the market. That's why I love something I read from a book. The man said, if your visibility exceeds your ability, he said, it will destroy your credibility. I take that again. If your visibility exceeds your ability, it will destroy your credibility. Meaning, if you become popular more than what your capacity can handle, then you have been promoted to a level of incompetence, a level where you cannot cope with your popularity, with the demand on you. When you create a market that is bigger than your supply, then invariably you are putting your credibility at stake. Why? Because you will overpromise and you will underdeliver. And that can actually kill business faster than anything. The moment you are not credible in your delivery promises, the moment they cannot hold you to your delivery promises, because a lot of things depend on your promise. A lot of other actions, a lot of other chain are waiting for your performance for them to be activated. So the moment you fail in delivering at the right time, you have broken the chain, you have created several other problems, and by the time they are able to mop their mess, you may not be their preferred brand anymore. So take note that as you are building your visibility, as you are pushing your product into the market, as you are pushing your brand into the market, you must also scale up your ability. Scale it up such that whenever the people need more of you, you have developed ability to deliver that much. If not, your credibility will be greatly tampered with. Your credibility will be badly tampered with. And that is terrible for an entrepreneur. Very, very terrible. Now, moving to something very critical again that we most time, many of us, including myself, sometimes we are found wanting, is taking prompt action. Taking prompt action. When you are laid back, when you procrastinate, sorry, you might be too late by the time you are ready, because the market is not waiting, it's not ready for, it's not ready to wait for you. I remember several years back, I was asked to champion a product development in a company where I worked, and it took us months, even years, trying to have consultation with all the stakeholders, including government, getting the necessary regulation and approval, which is the proper thing to do. And I was busy doing presentation at car park with government agencies and all of that. While we were doing that, somebody saw what we were doing and felt this is a good idea. And before months, we went to a place, I don't know, and just manufactured Ember and brought it in. I was shocked when I was somewhere around Morocco Road in a traffic, and somebody just knocked on my glass and flung the product that I thought we were going to be the pioneer person who will introduce it into the market. And I was rudely shocked. I asked him, where did you get this? He said, we are distributors for one company, blah, 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 blah. Time wasting can be very, very disastrous. All the money, all the investment we made into the research was flushed away, because by the time we were to introduce that into the market for about 4,000 naira, but when I asked the guy in traffic, he said his own is 1,500 naira. Where do we start from? It was a bad takeoff already. So taking action, being proactive for an entrepreneur is key, because the idea God has given you is just right for the season. Things may change tomorrow, and if you get to the market too late, don't blame anybody. So thank you for these few things that you allow me to say. I will allow Okwe Yemi Asagba to come in now at this point. Thank you very much.
I don't even know where to start from. This has been a very wonderful, enlightening session. I pray the Lord will continue to lift you up in the name of Jesus.
Amen.
So we have so many questions to ask you, sir. I know that by calling you are also a pastor. You superintend over a congregation. How are you able to combine your pastoral duties with this, with being such an entrepreneur, where you're so busy going into board meetings, handling so many things at the same time, and also managing and shepherding a very large congregation?
Yeah, as a young boy, my father have taught me that it is what you don't want to do that you cannot create time for. That statement stuck with me, and I walk by that principle. Anytime you complain, he will simply tell you, it is what you don't want to do that you don't have the time for. So my calling as a pastor is my number one passion, and therefore I see it as a must do. And because it's a must do, I don't see any stress in creating time for it. But of course, you know that what to eat, by the time you start raising family, nobody tells you, you don't need a lecture to say you must work and bring the food home. So with that, I just, and God has granted me health and strength, and I just make sure that I try to balance a lot of things. I'm sincere with myself. Where I need help, I allow people to help me, and what I can't do, I will be sincere with myself that I can't do it. But it has not really been easy. But again, we have been taught while growing up that on easy life the head wears the crown. You want to be great, then you don't have to trek the easy path. You have to be ready for the heat. If you are not prepared for the heat, don't go near the kitchen. So these are principles and wise sayings that have strengthened me. And so not easy, but God has kept us going.
Fantastic, fantastic. Thank you so much. We are receiving so many questions, and I think we should try and see how many of them we can deal with in this little time that we have. Someone is asking, says, how can an entrepreneur handle situations where friends and families refuse to pay for goods and services? Maybe as a result of the fact that the services, maybe they once used to be free, but they are now, the entrepreneur is now running it like a business. How is the entrepreneur going to be able to handle such situations where friends and family don't want to pay for goods and or services?
No business run on that template and succeed. Any friend and family that love you, they pay for your services. Then whatever you make out of that business and you are able to reach back to them, that is what makes you friends. But anyone who feels that you should render services to them free of charge from your business is not your friend. And you need to sit them down. Because while I was young, growing up, in little shop where we buy things as far back as 40 years ago, I saw a write-up. A man said, this business will succeed if friends and family pay for what they buy. So that is an old saying, and we can't change it now because you are not getting anything for free. If you have a business premises, you are paying something for it. If you are a manufacturer, your raw material is not free. Your staff, they are not working for free. So if everybody come to take for free, then the business will die soon and you will pack your things and go. So as an entrepreneur, you must have a little bit of being shrewd. You must be very decisive. Sorry, this is business. I can't do it for free. And they may call you names, but don't be afraid of being called names. It's part of those things.
Thank you so much. As an entrepreneur, are there certain types of businesses? As a Christian entrepreneur, since you are a pastor, sir, are there certain types of businesses that I shouldn't do, that I can't do? Can I run a restaurant and sell alcohol there, beer? Is anything wrong with it?
Running business is, it depends on you and your understanding. Because if we begin to go into the analysis of some of these things, you will discover that as a businessman, I will be speaking in a manner that if you don't understand very well, you say I am contradicting myself as a pastor. As a pastor, I don't encourage alcohol consumption. I don't. But if you do a chemical analysis of an alcohol, there is nothing wrong in that chemical. It's just a combination like any other combination. It is the application and what people do with it that make it wrong. So there are businesses that will not portray you, will conflict with your profession, will conflict with what you stand for. So in order for you not to be caught in the web, it will pay you to just excuse yourself so that you are not uncomfortable in the area where you make money. For instance, a young man came to me that he was building some places in Iba for many years ago, and he wanted to use it for a hotel. I asked him a question. I said, are you preparing a place for your first daughter to work? He said, how do you mean? I said, no, that hotel you are building, are you praying that the moment your daughter attains maturity, she should go and take a place there and do a work? He said, God forbid. I said, then you won't be comfortable in that kind of a business. So why go into it? So whatever will not make you comfortable in your faith is advisable you don't go into it. But if you feel you are justified, then since you are the one that will answer for yourself as regarding your faith, then you go ahead. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, I have another question here. It says, if you are employed and also provide services related to, and perhaps you have a side hustle, you are under employment somewhere, and you also have a side hustle, and then maybe your side hustle is beginning to grow. Maybe you have one or two clients that always patronize you. At what stage, or at what stage should you seriously begin to consider leaving employment and going into full-time entrepreneurship?
Okay, that's a very good one, because I've seen people who resign out of their job when what they are doing now cannot sustain them. It takes time for a business to grow and attain stability, and the word stability underlined. That you make money this month is not a guarantee you are going to make money next month, You are going to make equal amount of money in the upper month, and progressively like that. Therefore, if you are excited by what you just made, one-off, or because you have a client for a season and you don't evaluate the option very well and you leave your job, yes, it might be a good thing for you to focus, but you're going to have a struggle. And one thing is that business is like a human being. When a baby is not matured, you cannot suck the baby. When you begin to collect or stress a baby to produce results, when it's not matured, you are going to kill the baby. So also the business. So if you don't want to put undue pressure on your business, even if you are getting 1 or 2 clients, what you can do, in as much that job is not conflicting with what you are doing, that will cause a conflict of interest, employ somebody that you can comfortably pay, that have the skill, that you can also back up with your own skill, and let that person begin to run. By that, you are creating a safe haven for yourself. But I don't, I'm a risk averter, in as much as I love taking risks, but again, I look at some risks, it's not worth it. Don't abandon your job unless that business have created a reserve that for 6 months, if you don't work, you have a reserve that you can do your business and you can take care of your family responsibility without any problem. So that would be my advice.
Thank you so much, sir. I have another question here. He's saying you are a pastor, sir. That do Christians also need startup capitals too? I guess the person is trying to ask if by prayer, it's because the Bible says God will provide all your needs. So he's asking that. Yeah, so he's asking that as a Christian, does he also need to have startup capital before he can begin a business, he or she?
You see, I will answer that question from 2 angles. As an entrepreneur, startup capital is not your starting point. It is not your starting point, and it's not as critical as we sometimes rate it. What you need most is an idea that can solve somebody's problem. An idea that can solve somebody's problem. The capital will come. I remember when I started, I did not have money of my own. I was really broke. I've said it many times in places where I have the opportunity. It was at a time when I had to even buy a derica of rice on credit. So I don't have money. But there was a day somebody needed to do something. They wanted to pull a badge from somewhere to somewhere. And the man said, I need somebody who can make a recommendation that will not fail, because we can't afford the accident when it happens. And a man said, I know a man that left his job, and we've worked with them. We've worked with him directly for many years while he was in employment. His recommendations have not failed. So let's call him up. And right there and then, just that transaction that did not last me 24 hours, because I have a value that somebody is looking for. So you may not make a profit of $1 million, but when your idea is, or your solution is relevant to somebody's problem, somebody is ready to provide money, which can be your capital. Because when I gave them the estimate for the job, they asked me to go ahead. I said, you have to pay 100% upfront. So they gave me the money. Out of their money, I did the job, and then I made my own profit. So if you have a good idea, you can start even from brokerage. There is somebody that have what you can use somewhere. He doesn't know what to do with it. You have capacity, you know what to do with it. Just find a connection. So because most time ideas die in people's hand while they are waiting for startup capital. And this day, except you have a very compelling business plan, nobody is ready to put their capital down as an investment, except your investment plan is so sure and their risk of losing their money is very, very low. So that's number one. Then number two, as a pastor, once you have good plan, take it to the Lord in prayer. God can actually connect you with your helper. I have several testimonies of how people have come to my rescue after I have prayed, and somebody will just show up and show interest in the area of my need, and then they will solve the problem. So, but don't let capital hold you down. Don't let capital kill your innovative idea in your heart. Take it to the market and begin to look for who needs that solution. Somebody will be ready to put money down, even without you putting your own money down.
Mm. Thank you very much. I think we still have time for a few more questions. So, someone is asking that the Christians talk about forgiveness. That the Bible teaches that we should forgive people as many as 490 times. I guess that is somewhere in the Bible. So he's asking that as a businessman, someone that has duped me or gone away with my money, as an entrepreneur, how do I forgive such a person? Are you saying, am I to still do business with him? How do I combine these two things?
Okay, I will explain forgiveness so that the fellow will understand that there's difference between forgiveness and somebody who is owing you from paying what he's owing. I listened to Reverend Sam. He gave an illustration that God forgives easily, but he will not shield you from the consequence of your action. And he gave an example that if a man goes out to murder and kill someone, and as they're looking for him, he ran into a church or ran into his closet and kneel down and said, Lord, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, I didn't plan to do this. And he was sincerely sorry in his heart. He said immediately, God is going to forgive him. He said from that moment, God is not counting it against him. If he pray, God will answer. If he seeks God's face, God will attend to him. He said, but as he's stepping out of the church, if policemen accost him at the door and put handcuff, God is not going to come down and say, no, don't go and face the law. He said, you will go and face the law. That's the consequence. If somebody is owing, he is to pay. Because the Bible says, when you owe, you pay. It is evil for you to owe and not wanting to pay. So when you say forgive, it's not to write off debts in the name of I forgive you. If it's in your capacity to write it off, that is willingly in your capacity, you want to do it. But when the Bible says forgive, it's saying don't allow bitterness. Don't start looking for how to hurt that fellow. Don't look for the downfall. Don't look for a fight with that fellow. If you go to court because you wanted to collect your money, then it means you are fighting him for the just cause. But when you come back, will you still be friends? After the money have been paid, will you still be friends? So for me, it is the Bible is not saying when somebody owes you, don't go after him and get your money. But don't do evil, don't let it create bitterness, but use the channels available to you to collect your money, because the business will die if you keep selling to people and you don't take your money.
Thank you very much, sir. Someone wants to know, it says, as an investor, how do you secure your funds in the hands of an entrepreneur? Is it better to make it legal? Is it better to document it? If I'm an investor and I want to invest in an entrepreneur. Someone is asking, he says, if I'm an investor and I'm and I want to invest money with an entrepreneur.
Okay.
What's the best way? Do I need to document it, or can I just trust him as a Christian?
Okay. Okay. Uh, don't invest without documentation, because it's almost close to 100% sure that you will fight at the end of the day. Growing up, my old father used to tell me that there is no how two brothers can farm together that there will be no boundary. They will create a boundary. This is where your own farm stops. This is where my own starts. So the same thing, don't do business without putting documentation, proper documentation. Even if it's your son, once it is business and he said, Dad, I need this money to invest in business, tell him to get a lawyer. You get a lawyer and then document it. You may not want to trouble him for the money in the future, but you are teaching him what plays out in the business, in the marketplace. Because anything that is not written, they said, does not exist. You give you invest in somebody and it's not written anywhere. How do you then come back to say you have money with him? What are your proofs? So it's like throwing something into the air and you want to trace it in the air. You can't trace anything in the air. So don't say because he's a Christian brother, even if you are in the same church, you are in the same department. It has happened in our church, and as many that have come to me, Pastor, we want to do this business together. I will say, get a lawyer, draft the terms, let it be very clear. Make the terms clear, the benefit, the risk, everything. And in case you are not proceeding with that business, how do you dissolve it? How do you get your money back? Spell out everything and both of you sign, and it is done. It will lessen your stress. So don't say because you are a Christian and somebody come in the name of that and you will not document your transaction. No. I also learned from somebody, he died unprepared. You know, his friends that he invested in did not come out to tell his family that he has money with them. The children are suffering, and whenever they go and give the wife 5,000, they want her to be very grateful, not knowing that it is her husband's money that the man is actually enjoying. But because he did not document it, there's no way for the family to trace it. So for your own sake and for the sake of peace, document everything between you, even your children, and your brothers. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Someone is also asking, he says, should an entrepreneur take jobs that he does not personally have capacity for to do, based on the assumption that he can get someone that can handle that job and then he will supervise? Is it okay for an entrepreneur to do that?
For me, it's okay, because there's what we call brokerage. You don't have capacity for something, but there's somebody that has the capacity. And there is nothing that you want to do. If you search well, you will find somebody who is able to do it. Just make sure you get that job at a price that you can get it done somewhere and a margin will be left for you. You don't need all the skills in this world. You don't need to be the one doing everything. Great men use other people's resources, use other people's competence to achieve and to achieve their result and make money. So I will say yes, get the job, look for who can do it, make sure you supervise it and they do it well, because if it goes bad, it is your reputation that is going to be tampered with. It is not the person you gave the job to. It's your reputation, your name, everything that is online. Make sure it is properly done and then make your own money out of it. There's no sin in that. It is proper.
All right, thank you very much, sir. How do you see the business landscape in Nigeria post-COVID? COVID has changed the environment completely. what new business opportunities do you see around in the Nigeria, especially? What new business opportunities do you see that because a lot of businesses now are being affected or have been affected, and people need to move into other things? What kind of advice would you give?
We have been told to look at some areas, particularly areas in medics and associate business. So if you have the competence, you have the passion, you have the understanding, the area of medicine, clinical matters is something you can invest in. If you, even if you don't, you are not a practitioner, you can get somebody who has what it takes. The lab test and all of this we sell moving forward, because the fear of what is around us. We make people to continue to do tests. We require people to invest in their health check and all of that. So anything around that, information technology, just like we are not able to gather together in church for over 2 months now, but we have relied on IT to do all that we are doing, and it may likely continue even after the peak of this panic, because just like every other pandemic, we must have the understanding that it is not like a litter that we are going to sweep out of the street in one day, in 1 month. It is the flu as far back as 1819 is still here with us up to now. It's just that it's not as fearful as it used to be then. So this thing is going to be around. So information technology need to, then food and agro allied. Food and agro allied, very, very key. While I was preparing for this meeting, honestly, I was just going through my WhatsApp. A friend who we share business idea together just prompt me and say, there's this business, so are you interested? I say, what is it? He said, since there is the news everywhere now that garlic, ginger, and others are good remedy for this Madagascar's this thing, that it might turn around to be a very good source of export. That I said, I am in. Let's meet on Tuesday and discuss the details. So things around agriculture, food, medicine, and all of these three areas, they are green areas that we should look at. And solution, logistics, moving things from point to point, because our contact will reduce drastically. So intermediaries who will move things from one location to another will be needed. So logistics services like dispatch and other things are areas where people should start looking at. Online business, create online platform where people can buy and sell, because now the physical gathering, physical interaction will be very, very minimized, and therefore online businesses will thrive. So several of these are just few that I think we should start looking at and considering.
Fantastic, fantastic, fantastic. Fantastic. Thank you so much, sir. I think I still have space for one more question. The questions are really pouring in. One person is asking, says, how can the church support budding entrepreneurs, maybe by having a business or an entrepreneurship team that can support people who are young entrepreneurs who are just trying to start up, who need empowerment and maybe need mentoring and support? Says, how can the church play this role in supporting?
There are several ways. And most times I ask people, when you are looking for help, don't just look at somebody that can give you money. I can mention name on this platform, young people in church who I did not give them one kobo, but I held their hand through their business ideas, and they started something small, and today they are doing something consistent and stable. So if you have a good business idea, or even if it's rough, bring it up. There are people around. One gift that God has helped us with in Palace is that we have people in diverse areas, and including the anchor of this meeting is somebody widely experienced, and I've handed people over to him to mentor, to guide, and we have seen good results. So if you have good idea, we may not be able to give you money, but we will follow you, we will help you to the point where your business will be attractive enough and start making the money. We have record of those that have had such experience. So don't hide in your enclave. Come out, bring it out, and you get it.
Thank you so much, Pastor. I think we've had a fantastic and wonderful time today. I've personally learned a lot, and I'm sure everyone who is listening has learned quite a lot also. Um, we will need to be anchoring the program right about here. I want to thank you so much for taking time out of your very, very busy schedule to join us today. We pray, we ask that you continue to pray for us and pray for our country as we go through these difficult times. So, is it okay since you are a pastor? Is it okay you say a short word of prayer for us as we close, or a word of declaration for us?
Definitely, it's okay. In closing, I will just like to advise everyone hearing me that please stay safe, observe the hygiene protocols. Is very important. It's only a healthy man that can run a business. If you ground your health, no matter how beautiful your idea is, you may not be able to run it. So please take care of yourself, stay safe, and the Lord will keep you in Jesus' name. Father, Lord, I pray for everyone that have partake of this program. Lord, to hear is not as beneficial as to take action, to do. Therefore, the grace to be able to work on whatever we have learned, or even if it is just a pointer, the grace to develop it bigger and make good out of it, give to everyone in the name of Jesus. I pray that the next time we are going to meet, somebody will have a testimony, and then whatever idea God have given you, He will give you the courage to be able to bring it up. It shall be well with you all. God bless you, and thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Pastor. God bless you. Thank you to all listeners and our viewers out there. This has been a wonderful session with the Life Advancement and Business series. Next week, we have a very special guest here also. He's the newly inaugurated president of the Chartered Institute of Bankers. His name is Mr. Bayo Olugbemi. He's also a clergyman, he's a pastor in the Redeemed Christian Church of God. We will be having him live here next week about the same time at 2 o'clock. Until we meet again, I'd like to say thank you for joining us. God bless you. Keep walking strong, keep thinking, and keep safe. Thank you.